a delay on that. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with our introductions, but first we're gonna just kind of let you know what we've got going on. We're gonna have a identity theft article that's gonna be introduced by Mr. Raymond Hooker, and then we're going to also have another article a little bit later on in this Zoom that's going to be on road checks. We're gonna cover both of those articles. We're gonna take some questions as well, and if we have some time, we're gonna cover some things on some things you can be doing out in the field to build your CDLP business as well. So the trainers are chiming with that information and give you some, just maybe some tips and things that you can be moving forward with in this space here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Sherranda Ivey so she can get started with her introduction, and then she'll turn it over to the next trainer, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you guys again for joining us. Ms. Sherranda?
Thank you, Mr. Dunbar. Appreciate you. And my name is Sherranda Ivey. I'm out of Byron, Georgia, about an hour and a half south of Atlanta. Been in LegalShield now for, this is my 8th year in the business. I am Business Solutions Sapphire Associate. Have written over 100 personal memberships, so we received that award as well last year. 2019 Ladies of Justice Field Trainer of the Year Award, earned that as well last year. I am a CDLP trainer for the state of Georgia, field trainer as well for Business Solutions, but I mainly focus on the CDLP, but I do have a variety of groups that I do work as well. So I am a Business Solutions trainer as well, field trainer, Business Solutions field trainer. And so I just love this space, appreciate this call. Mr. Dunbar, created this call a few years ago, and I appreciate it. We hadn't always had it. It's a lot of information here. I am a full service associate, work LegalShield. I do have a team, as they all say, but I do have some new associates on my team as well. But I just love this space. I get up every day, like Lamar says, and talk to commercial drivers and transportation companies. Just love, the being able to service them like we are, and to offer all our products. So I love to cross-sell in this space, giving the business owner, the member, cover that individual 100%. So just love to be on this call, and I actually host the accountability call on Thursday nights. You guys are welcome to join us if you're actually moving in the space. It's more of a mastermind call. We'll come there to definitely collaborate and to discuss activity that has happened in the field. A lot of information is definitely moving in that space. So appreciate it. And so with that, I'll turn it over to the next trainer, and that would be Randy Hooker. Over to you.
Well, thank you, Sherranda. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the call. And I've been in LegalShield for about 12 years. I was in business, basically small business for a long time. And then we rotated into 5.5 years at the gun shows, selling our product to protect gun owners. And then January of 2019, I started into the commercial drivers arena. We were able to obtain the $50,000 ring by November. We also have sold over 1,000 personal memberships in the Emerald Elites. So therefore, it's a wonderful time to sell in the commercial drivers market. I enjoy it. But I am a full service associate also. I do have team, and we work the business. And I know that you have to work all aspects of it. If there's money on the table, I don't want to leave it laying there. I'm going to pick it up and take it with me. So therefore, I'm gonna do whatever I can do to completely service our clients, especially. With that, Robert, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself.
Can you hear me?
There can now.
All right, fantastic. So appreciate that. And when Lamar gets here, we will have Lamar actually introduce himself as well. 1 second. And we'll have Lamar introduce himself as well once he jumps in. So again, thank you guys for joining us. For those who do not know, that there will be a CDLP training for $49 on the 20th of February. So please make sure you get certified for CDLP if you haven't, get a refresher if you have not had one, and get registered if you're not registered yet. Remember, registration ends about 3 p.m. Central Time the day before. So on February 19th at 3 p.m. Central, the registration will stop. So we need you guys to get registered before then for that training. You will see a banner up on the CDLP Facebook page letting you know about the training. So I'll be changing that banner this evening and putting a banner up there that will help you remember to get registered for that training on February 20th. And I'm sure that Alan Roman and Chris Seelig will be sending reminders out as well. And then maybe 48 hours before that training, you'll get a reminder email from me for everybody who's on the email list about that training if you haven't certified yet there. So again, we love having you guys. I'm gonna ask Sherranda to try to help me do this today. Sherranda, let's try to get out of here at 9:30.
Yes.
So
Yes, sir.
if you can help me do that, that'd be great. Help us end on time, because we always 15, 20 minutes late ending the call, because we know we're still talking and going. So we want to try to end at 9:30, because we do have Darnell Self has a call that happens at 9:30 on Facebook Live. I know there's some other team Zooms and things that are happening for you guys as well. So we want to try to be timely here with that. So we appreciate you guys. And yes, the session is not being recorded because it is on YouTube Live. So it's recording there on YouTube. So that's why I don't record it on Zoom, guys, because it is on YouTube. And I'll be putting the YouTube link here once Randy starts training. I'll put the YouTube link there for you guys to go there, and you guys can subscribe to the channel. You can watch the videos however you choose to as well. So with that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Raymond Hooker. Ray Hooker is going to go in and he's going to talk about some identity theft things as it comes to CDLP, and that article, he'll let you know where to get the article at as well. So Mr. Raymond Hooker, floor is yours.
Well, all right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all can hear me all right?
We can hear you just fine, brother.
Okay. This article was put out in August of 2010. But it is very relevant today, ladies and gentlemen. The thing about identity theft for a trucker, this is an add-on that is sometimes not used enough. I know I don't push it enough. I'll just be honest, I don't push it enough. I know I need to. And after you read about this article or see what happened here, you'll understand why. This trucker, Earl Robert Hood, let me pick up my annotation so that I can. Earl Robert Hood didn't know his identity had been stolen as a commercial driver, and his license was suspended in 2008 for 4 DUIs. Now you stop and think, if they get a license suspended for a DUI, they lose their license for a year. If it happens a second time, they'll lose it for life. This one was 4 at one time that he was charged with. And he actually got to go and testify against the guy, Danny Arnold Rogers, who stole his identity. He was at a truck stop, and he actually turned his name over to Rogers. They met at a truck stop, and he turned his name over, and his medical card. Let's see, where is that? It's right here someplace. He actually turned his medical card and his driver's license number and what have you over to be. He was fueling his rig, and he turned it over to him because this Rogers said he used to work for the same company that Hood was working for in Texas, and that he would offer him another job working for Rogers that would pay him more and he could stay at home with his family more. And so therefore he turned his medical card, his driver's license, and his information over so that he could be vetted to drive for this company. And what happened was Rogers stole his identity, and he was went on a 3-state drunken driving spree. July 20 of 2008, racked up 4 DUIs in less than 2 weeks using Hood's name. He was cited July the 4th, July the 7th, July the 8th, and July the 13th. He was prosecuted and was facing more than 30 years in prison. But it caused Mr. Rogers to lose many of his possessions. He lost his marriage, which ended in a divorce, and he ended up losing his home and basically everything that he had because he couldn't drive and make a living. And so it's like Hood says, Rogers stole not just his name, but his whole life. And therefore it was a situation where he couldn't drive, he couldn't make a living. He fell behind on his house payments, his Dodge Durango, the furniture that he was paying for. He tried to get a job. He couldn't. Here's where it says he turned his license over to you be vetted, which is routine. I mean, that's just routine for a trucker to have to do that. How many companies do they try to go to work for that they turn this information over to? If you stop and think, every time they try to apply for a job, they have to turn that information over to be vetted so that they can check to see if they have anything against their record. Well, he was unable to get a job, and he finally got it straightened out, but it took him years and years. And of course, he didn't do it. He didn't know how to do it. This is where our identity theft would have picked up and helped him with the reimbursement from stuff that he lost if they couldn't have straightened it out with that $1 million reimbursement policy. They could have helped with the house payments and stuff if they couldn't have straightened it out. And so having our program where we do comprehensive restoration is so very important to these drivers because they're on the road 8 to 5 or 8 to 10 hours to 12 hours a day. And the companies that they have to call to restore their identity, if they're going to try to do it, are open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Well, if they're on the road, they can't talk to them because they're not supposed to be on the phone in the truck anyhow. So having access to our identity theft program, ladies and gentlemen, makes such a difference for them to be able to do that. This article I will post once again in the Facebook section, our Facebook page in the file section after we get through here. After we get through tonight, I'll post this article so that y'all will all have a copy of it if you want it. If you hand this out to drivers and they read it, it's almost a guarantee that they will buy that identity theft once they understand how important it is to them. And this is an actual case. It's not something that somebody's made up or what have you. So I'll turn it back over for questions, Robert. So.
All right. So before we go to any questions, do any of the other trainers have anything? Sherranda or Sharon, do you guys have anything you want to bring up before we go to the field? Going once?
No, not at this time, Robert. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So let's see if we have any questions. If you have a question about the article that Mr. Hooker was just speaking on, go ahead and unmute yourself. We always take ladies first, so go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. And about this subject, don't ask questions about something crazy outside. Don't be asking about no business plan.
Robert. Hey, Randy, can you repeat your first statement about the duration of when he loses his license again? I want to put that in the chat.
Okay. If a driver gets a DUI, he will lose his license for a year on first conviction. Now, they can also lose their license for an open container in their commercial vehicle, whether it has anything in it or not. If it's just an open container, even if it's empty, he can lose his license for a year because of that open container.
So we have a question from Mr. Arjun. He says, how do we squeeze in the identity theft with the CDLP and the legal? And since I'm talking, I'll give my answer real quick, and then the other trainers can kind of chime in as well. Me personally, I don't go over identity theft on my original presentation, because I try to go over a few safety tips for them at my safety meeting. I talk about the identity theft, the CDLP, and then the legal. I normally have a conversation about identity theft on a one-on-one basis. So if I do a presentation for 20 minutes at a safety meeting, when I'm doing an application with that person, I'll bring up the identity theft plan as I'm closing them out on the paper application. So giving you an example, if I see Justin up in the left-hand corner. So if I was talking to Justin as a trucker who decided they wanted to get the plan while I did my presentation, when I'm helping him fill out his paperwork, I'll let him know, hey, we do also offer an identity theft plan as well. Or that driver will ask me, a lot of times they'll ask when you're enrolling what things are. They'll say, so what is this ID shield? Or they'll ask a question about it, and then I'll go into the presentation at that point. So that's another way that you can do it as well, but I don't have it in my presentation just for the sake of time, and because it starts to get confusing when you're talking about all these different types of identity theft, because of you got 3 bureau and 1 bureau and family and individual, and then you're talking about the legal, family, then you're talking about the CDLP. It becomes a lot. So that's my opinion on it, but everybody does it differently. So the other trainers can let you know how they handle that during their enrollment as well. And that we finish answering that question, I'll go out to Justin next with his hand up. So go ahead, Sherranda.
Well, I talk about that they can't afford to, have their identity stolen, especially with their driver's license, because they'll lose the ability to drive. So when I'm talking about the presentation, I talk about the CDLP portion first, and then I add in the personal. And I mean, I really just, the last part I talk about is making sure they have something in place for their identity, because they can't afford anybody to steal their identity when it comes to their driver's license. I only sell, in any group, I only sell 1 bureau anyway, no matter whether it's CDLP or any other type of industry. I don't bring the 3 bureau into group. I just do the 1 bureau. But in CDL, that's what I actually, I wind it up with that, and I mean, it just touched briefly on it, meaning, we also have a product that protects your identity. And as a commercial driver, you can't afford anyone to steal your identity. So you might want to have something in place to make sure nobody messes with your driver's license or the ability to have you to drive your identity. And that's how I wind it up. That's how I say about that. Really.
I got you. Good stuff. Randy?
Well, whenever I do my presentation, we do the CDL, of course, first, and then the legal. And at the end of the legal presentation, the only thing I'll do is I have 2 slides, one that says that they're a victim until they're guilty until proven innocent on the bottom of it. And I just say, we do have an identity theft program, guys. And of course, just sort of like Sherranda, if you get your driver's license number compromised for any reason, it could cause you to lose your right to drive. And we've had some people that have actually lost everything they own. Also, we have on our program, y'all know that we monitor what y'all want us to monitor. And then basically we have a licensed private investigator that puts you back to pre-theft status if it's something that y'all are interested in, whenever we come around and visit with you on your application, we'll explain it further. It runs about 50 cents a day. And that, I mean, I just move right on after that.
I did pop. I saw Jim. I think somebody popped up and asked why one bureau. If you ever been to Mike Rich's class, he talks about it in group school. The difference in the bureaus. If you get compromised, they're gonna check all three anyway. And it's just, you know, for me, it's the money. If they want to upgrade, they can, but I just make it simple in group and, you know, keep my pricings the same across the board. So, but Mike talks about it in group school, the difference in the bureaus. And so if they get compromised, they're gonna have access to all three bureaus to be checked anyway.
Good stuff. And Dan asked about when will CDLP have their own app. Now, my answer to that question is that CDLP does have an app. The regular app, when they register, what happens is they register with their CDLP number and it transforms the app into a CDL type app. Now, I don't know whether you know that already and you're asking for a specific app outside of that. I'm not sure, but that's my answer to that, because it is a CDLP app when they register, because they put their CDLP number in there, corporate knows their CDLP. How do the other trainers feel about that?
Yeah, we have one app across the board. That's just like when we have the business plan has the same app too. It just doesn't have all the features. So you just have to explain that all the features aren't there. So, but yeah, you're right. We have the same app. We've always had the same app. When you put the number in, some of those features if they don't have a family plan, it won't relate to them. So you just have to, you know, make that clear with your customer that you only got our commercial plan. And so the estate planning portion of those documents aren't covered under just the CDL plan. So you have to have that conversation.
Anything, Randy, or you good?
Same thing, I noticed Lamar's on too. But yeah, I just use the one bureau. It's just, that's all that's really needed.
Okay, good stuff. And Sharon, if you can bring Lamar into the speaking group, that'd be fantastic. So Justin's question about Justin's from Canada, and I believe he's from Canada. And he's saying I'm from Canada, across from Detroit. Is the DUI conviction the same from state to state? My response to that would be that CDL is federal. So that if it's a DUI affecting their CDL, it doesn't matter where they're at, it's going to affect the same, because it's really federal, not state to state. That would be my amateur answer. Let me see if any of our other expert trainers have a different answer than me. So Randy, Sherranda, if you guys can chime in, and I know Lamar's on as well.
Robert.
Oh, Sharon, go ahead. You got something to say, Sharon?
You have the host. I can't bring Lamar in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had you as somebody that could do that.
You have the power.
I have the power. Let me see. Well, let me find them. But any other trainers want to speak to that, or will be good?
I'm good on that.
As far as I know, like you said, it's federal. So it's basically anything. And of course, the thing about it, guys, on a DUI, anything that they put their hands on, they're a professional driver, just like we said the other night. They're a professional driver. Anything they put their hands on, car, Harley, Honda, boat, four-wheeler, if they can get a citation for that, it goes on their CDL, because that's the only license they have.
Lamar, you can talk, Lamar.
Yeah, Robert.
Yes, sir.
You're correct. That is federal, and if you get that against you, that applies in all states. So, and that's a terrible thing as a commercial driver, is to get that on your CDL. Just like I had a guy the other day that got convicted of drugs. And I think we were talking about this the other night. Mr. Randy had made mention, what happens when that charge goes through? And I think he got stopped on the weekend in his personal car, and he got a drug charge against him. But what that state does when that drug charge goes through, they will suspend his driver's license, the CDL. And so now there he is with no CDL. Now, with an attorney, a lot of times the attorney will plead the case before the judge and try to get the Class C driver's license left in place so that he could go back and forth on some type of job. I had a guy at one of my trucking companies that got convicted of DWI. Well, while he was serving that case out for over a year, he worked on the yard. And so our attorney here in Houston maintained, he got the judge to okay for him to have his Class C, which is just a regular driver's license to drive the personal car back and forth to work. But the Class A driver's license, once that gets tapped, I mean, that's a terrible thing for a commercial driver. I mean, you're through driving commercially for a period of time. So
I want to address something on the sales side, guys. And again, when I finish addressing it, any other trainer that wants to jump in. So Dan Nix, you mentioned that having one app is confusing to the client. So let me tell you how to keep your clients from being confused. So I have a lot of apps myself on different things. I have a lot of different things I'm involved in that would take an app. We all do with cell phones. So when you have a cell phone app for whatever company, so let's take MyFitnessPal, right? I use MyFitnessPal to keep my calories and all that kind of stuff, in my daily life. I have the app, it's a free app, but there's features that I have to pay for if I want, and they are locked out. I can't use them. I can see them, I can touch them, I can see what they do, but I can't literally use them because they would charge me. I would have to pay a premium to use them. Most apps have in-app purchases. So I want you guys to relate that to LegalShield. So for those that are saying, well, I've got a client that just has a CDL plan, but they're seeing legal things. They're seeing things that they can touch, but they can't use because they don't have that. That is a way for you to upgrade them, because you should have sold them a bundle plan anyway. If you didn't sell them a bundle plan because for some reason you didn't sell them the legal and the identity and the CDL, because I know somebody else mentioned, I'm gonna try to kill two birds with one stone with this. Somebody else said, well, should I sell them a super CDLP for them to see the legal? No, sell them a CDL plan, basic, and a family plan. That's what you want to sell them. We even have a flyer in the back office that bundles them together on the flyer that you should be presenting with. Let's say you do not sell both plans when you present. That's an opportunity for you to upgrade them. So if I'm talking to Randy Hooker and he says, well, I see you've got something on here about estate planning. Can I do estate planning with my CDL plan? Say, no, that's a fantastic question. We have a family plan that's an additional $20.95 a month. And that plan will allow you to access and then go ahead and do your legal plan spill. That's an opportunity for you to upgrade, guys. That's an in-app purchase for you. That's what that is. So you should want them to see things in the app that they can't access because you didn't sell them that plan. So that's an opportunity for you to upgrade them when they ask you that question. Just like when they say to me, hey, what is this on the application? On my application, when they're buying the CDL or they're buying the family plan, and they say, what is this business plan? Or what is this trial defense? I'm glad you asked. Now I'm going to tell them what the trial defense is so I can upgrade them if it's something that they would need. So use it as an opportunity to upsell them. So if they're confused, unconfuse them with an upsell. That's what I would tell you to do about that. I wouldn't want LegalShield to take that away. I wouldn't want them to strictly just, it's just like the person that says, what about my client when they go to my website and they see all these other things, but I only want them to see CDLP? It's confusing my client. If your client goes to your website and they're confused because you sell more than one thing, you just got a confused client. You see what I mean? Like, you got to realize that some people, they just, that's how their brain work, and you can't change your product to meet their headspace. If an adult goes to your website and sees that you sell more than one thing and they're confused, that person is just a confused person. And you can't dumb your website down to make somebody not confused because they don't understand that you sell two things instead of one. So if they're saying if they're on your website and they're like, well, you got so many things, or I'll explain to you what those things are because that might be something that you can use in the future. Let me show you the CDL and I'll let you know. A lot of my clients that get the CDL plan, they also get the family plan. Let me explain to you why. Oh, you're owner operator, you got your own vehicle. Have you ever had an issue where a client didn't pay you, or you had a contract that you had to review and an attorney charged you $200 or $300? That's what this business plan is for. That's an opportunity, guys, for you to upsell through your website. I have a website for my other company. I have everything I sell on there. Why? Because when you go to my website, I want you to see everything I offer because I want to upsell you on the other products and services that I offer. Guys, that's sales. That's not confusing a client. That's your job as a rep to unconfuse them by breaking down what that is and then making that sale. That's what you're doing when you're in sales. So that's my take on that. I'm gonna turn over to the other trainers just in case I said something stupid, right?
No, you said I'll chime in. I think we confuse our clients ourselves. Like, if we're confused, we confuse them. If we don't understand. But it's just a conversation, guys. Just have a conversation and explain the process to your client. That's it. If you don't say, like, Dunbar said, cross sell. If you don't sell both plans, have a conversation, explain that to them. He just trained on how to upsell. I think when we're confused, we relay that to our clients, but they don't know really no more than we tell them. But if that's there and they touch it and it says contact or whatever it says, I don't know, because I got all the products, but whatever it says when you hit that and you don't have the product, that's a conversation. Just have a conversation. And I think, Dunbar, you did a great job about the in-purchase sales. Like you said, upgrade. Everybody has free apps, and if you want the premium, you'll pay for it. From the app store. So it's similar to that. You have to be relatable. You really have to be relatable. We make LegalShield weird. We do. We make it weird. Yeah. How we come across to try to, we don't make it relate to how people think or how they understand things. We make it weird. So that's why people think, it's hard to comprehend the process of what we're offering, because we make it weird. It's us who do that. But I think you did good, Dunbar. That was really, I understand that. So hopefully that helped whoever, Mr. Nix. Randy, Lamar.
I'll just say, in your presentation, you have an opportunity to gain the respect of that person, that driver. You have an opportunity to establish your credibility, and you have an opportunity to earn the right to really be the expert in the room to say, this is the plan you need. This is the CDL plan, and this is a legal plan. And so as you go through your presentation, and you go through different features of it, and then you give examples, you're knowledgeable of the transportation industry. And so as you do your presentation, I mean, within a short period of time of 10 to 15 minutes, you can earn that driver's respect. And you have gained a lot of credibility to say, these are the two programs you need for you especially you with the CDLP, and for your family. As you're out on the road, you're leaving an umbrella of protection over your family with the legal plan. And you can use that legal plan too while you're on the road. And I'll usually give them a couple of examples of how the driver could use the legal plan out there on the road. And so there you go. So do your presentation in such a way that it will impress upon them that this is the product you really need, and you're not being confusing to them. They won't question your direction. This is what you need. So there you go, Robert. I mean, Randy, you want to add anything to that?
Build value, they'll buy.
There you go. Yeah.
It's simple.
So I'll say this, until you get your sea legs, and if you'll stay plugged in on this Monday night call, you'll learn how to put a presentation together that's going to really be effective from the standpoint of being a commercial driver. Okay. And so you're covering all the bases with your CDLP membership. And then on the legal plan, you will start to have testimonials. I got one on my phone that I use as the guys are filling out the applications. I usually will do a testimonial of the legal plan, where this lady was going through a divorce 32 years ago. And the credit union said that she had $8,578 left on the repossession of a car. And she says, Mr. Reynolds, I guess I'm just going to have to go to the bank and borrow the money and pay that. I said, well, hold it. Her name is Liz. Hold it, Liz. You're part of my legal plan. You need to call Ross and Matthews and see what they have to say about it. The statutes of limitation could apply. That one letter saved her $8,578. So, I mean, that is really powerful stuff as you going through a presentation and, they're filling out the application and saying, man, I like that. And so these are the types of things. How does it go, Randy? Facts, tells, stories, sell. And if you can remember that, and I don't care if you have to use one of my stories, okay? Use one of my stories. But you need a story. You need a story like the CDL plan. You'll need a story and the legal plan. It is a powerful thing when you tell the stories. And so that's the way I do it. And I've been pretty successful selling CDLP memberships. I went over 5,000 the beginning of last year. And it took me a while to get there. You just don't do that overnight. But you'll learn. I'm still learning. Many of you on there said, well, Mr. Reynolds, he knows everything. I don't. I don't know everything. And that's the beautiful thing about transportation. It's evolving as we speak. And there's new things coming in. And things are changing. But I'm still learning. And when I say something wrong, or I said, I could have said that a little different. I should have done it this way. And so you need to evaluate yourself every time you make a presentation and make it better next time. And that's what I've tried to do through all these years. And that script that Robert talks about, my decision maker script. Now that thing, that had evolved over 5 or 6 years. And I got it down to where every word was very effective to stress what was being said. And so you can do that in your CDL presentation. Back over to you, Robert.
All right, fantastic. I'm trying to address some of the questions that would be more of something that a lot of people would benefit from. Some of them we're answering in the chat, guys. So if you put a question in the chat, look back in the chat and see if we answered it there as well. Sometimes we answer them more broadly because we think more people will have that question. We have a question, and I don't want to mess your name up, but I know you, man, but I'm bad with names. Is it Bajit?
Yeah, it's Baljit.
Bajit?
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. So you had a question about whether it's more common for trucking companies to go for a fringe or where the company pays for the drivers or voluntary benefit, on which side of that they go. And they kind of will go on both, but that's kind of a that's kind of an off-site question too. So I know, man, you talk, so you can call me and I'll have more conversation with you in depth offline too. But online, I want to answer it still with the other trainers about how they're handling that on fringe and voluntary. So if any trainers want to touch on that. And this gentleman is in Canada too, by the way, just so you guys know.
Well, I have a lot of companies that pay for their drivers plans, and I'll let Dunbar explain how they do that offline.
I usually, 90% of the trucking companies that I work with are self-pay on a bank draft unit. They pay for it themselves. And part of the reason for that too is I'm sort of like Lamar. If that guy's paying for it and he, for some reason, himself wants to leave the company, whether they release him or not, but if he wanted to leave the company to a better job or a job that's going to pay him more, he takes my plan with him and he doesn't have to try to get it rescheduled and start paying for it himself if it's been paid for by the company, or if it's been payroll deduct or share adjustment, commission adjustment and stuff, or share settlement and stuff like that. If he's paying for it himself, he'll take it with him, and it's already paid for. He keeps it at the discounted rate and goes right on about his business. Lamar?
Okay, I want to speak on this because I've had some issues with fringe, but there's a lot of companies out there that will pay for all the memberships. And I had a flatbed company, 67 drivers, I believe it was. And I was going through our program. He found out that we could take care of overweight tickets because he was spending close to, I think it was close to $12,000 in overweight fines a month. And when he found out that my program could help him, he says, Mr. Reynolds, I want to sign every one of my drivers up. And so he said, can you sign them up? I said, yes, sir. I need this information. And in 15 minutes, he had all that laying on the table in front of me. And I sat there, it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I stayed there to after 6 at night. And I enrolled every one of those drivers. I filled out the paper application. And when it's a fringe and the company is paying for it, you can print their name and the company will accept it. At LegalShield at work, you can just enter it in. So and the thing that I want to tell you folks about, a lot of my companies, I have a payroll deduct account and a bank draft, both at the same company. Okay. And so you'll find certain situations where, a driver wants the settlement. He wants that to come out. And the company may insist on the company drivers, they want to run them through a settlement. Okay. And the owner operators can be on the bank draft. So some of my larger companies, I have 2 accounts set up that way. Now, here's the thing that everybody needs to make sure you understand, and Mr. Randy can chime in on this. So on that volunteer enrollment form, you have an opportunity to check up there fringe or partial fringe. When you do that, they take your commissions and spread it over 36 months. Not over 12 months, but 36 months. And you can see that at LegalShield at Work. You can go over there and click on the service tab, and it'll show 12 months or 36 months. But on a fringe account, and I just got through changing the last 2 that I had. I went back and redone the volunteer sheet, had to redo it to set it up as a payroll deduct. And it may be a fringe, but I'm turning it in as a payroll deduct because that spreads it over 12 months. So you need to be aware of that. And we talk about this a lot. I've had quite a few companies. I had another one that had 300 drivers, wanted to pay for the memberships. I mean, I've had all kinds of different scenarios. Some of my smaller companies were 25 and 30 drivers. Just a whole bunch of them will pay for the membership. And they can pay for it through a bank draft. They're using their bank account or credit card, and the owner of the company is paying for those memberships. But I turn that in and set it up on the volunteer sheet as bank draft. Okay? So there's a lot of different ways you can skin the cat, but you need to understand behind the scenes what happens on a fringe account. If you turn that in as a fringe, look out. I mean, they're going to take whatever monies that first year commissions and spread it over 36 months. So, that's a big nugget for you folks tonight, is to make sure you understand that. Randy, you want to comment on that a little bit further?
Well, it's just, once again, the whole thing about it, Lamar, is understand the compensation plan.
That's it.
And how you're getting paid for what you're getting paid. And if you understand it, that's what you need to know so that you'll set it up the way you want to be paid.
Yep.
So what Lamar just said, I want you guys, I hope you took notes on that.
Yeah.
I hope you took notes on what Lamar just said. So I'm like Country Wayne say, let that sizzle in your spirit.
That'll save you some money.
So Lamar was being being very kind. Don't let that go over your head. What he just said about when you click fringe, what that does to your commission. So just make sure you guys pay attention to that. Make sure y'all pay attention to that. So
fringe or partial fringe, either one of those.
Yes, fringe or partial fringe, absolutely. So Randy, I'm not sure whether you have enough time to go over the road check.
I'd just like to show it, Robert. Let me pull it up.
Okay, all right, go ahead. I'm turning it over to you then. Go ahead.
Guys, this is volume flattened road check, and I want to thank y'all. Help me thank Jody Garrox in Wisconsin for helping with this. She sent it to me, and then I turned it into a 1-page for all of us, or what have you. And it's hours of service and lighting will be the 2 areas of focus. May. International Road Check Week, North America is moving back to the spring this year, May 4th through the 6th. You need to get this out to all of your safety directors, all of the people in the companies that you're working with. It goes over all the different stuff on the road check. Lamar, you want to chime in for just a few minutes? We're going to try to stop right at 9:30 Eastern, I know, but you may want to chat on this just a little bit there.
Well, yes, this is a great article for your customer to really build your credibility, and it's a great opportunity to walk into prospects. And so what you're doing is telling them that this is happening on May the 4th, 5th, and 6th. And the old way that we used to recognize this was a road check, 72-hour road check. And as the drivers are going interstate from state to state, I mean, when they go through the scale houses, they're going to work them over. I mean, that is the big thing on the international road check is the scale houses. If your truck is going through a scale house, they're going to be scrutinized on this. And Mr. Randy, what was it? The 2 things here was what?
It's hours of service and lighting.
Lighting. Now, lighting is the #1 ticket, is a low-hanging fruit of any trucking company. It's lights, tires, and brakes. That's 1, 2, 3. And so hours of service is another big one, but lighting is #1. And if they see a light out as that truck comes through the scale facility, they're going to pull it over to the side, and then more than likely they're going to take you through at least a level 2 or level 1 inspection. And if they take you through a level 1, he's going to find at least 4 or 5 more violations while he's got you stopped. Now, I was kind of running late getting on here, but one is really informing them about what is taking place on those days. And then number 2, you'll have an opportunity here in the state of Texas. We can go back, okay, after the road check happens, then we can get the details of what happened on the road check. And I want to read you, I just pulled this out of my document file. This is a road check in 2018. Just in the state of Texas, they inspected 7,980 commercial vehicles in that 3-day period. Now, you're talking about being really powerful. Get the results of the road check for your state and go back in to your customers and prospects. And 24%, 1,975 commercial vehicles, buses and commercial vehicles were placed out of service. They stopped 7,980 and put 1,975 of them out of service. Think about that. That's pretty aggressive. And while they were doing that, they wrote 1,258 citations. That's pretty bad. But listen to this. They also wrote 18,178 warnings. Now, Mr. Randy, what happens on a warning?
Well, you don't have a court date for one thing, and you still get all the points on your record.
There you go. And so this is devastating to your company, devastating to your driver. And unless you got some documentation, like, okay, they gave me a warning for brakes out of service, but I took my truck in immediately, had a certified mechanic check the brakes, and he wrote on the service report, brakes are not out of adjustment. Well, you can protest that, and it's got to be multiple times you turn in that protest by the safety director to try to get that warning out off of your record. But there's a lot of work that goes into removing a warning. But if we adjudicate it in court and it's dismissed, not guilty, or reduced to a lesser charge, ladies and gentlemen, that order of dismissal can be issued, paperwork filed, and the points removed. And it's usually the violations that are higher points. So this road check, it is well known across the country. And informing your prospect or customer when it's happening, that's really great to do that. But if you want to really impress them, follow her up in 2 months and get the results. And that is a powerful thing to do. So back over to you, Sherranda or Randy, if you got any more comments.
Now, the only thing I would say is this one last year, they put 34.7 to be precise of amount of service on hours of service. So that's one of the reasons that they're really pushing hours of service this year.
How does somebody get the state numbers, guys? That's one of the questions.
Well, in the state of Texas, you can go to the Texas Department of Public Safety and Google that and put in road check. And I don't know if you folks, Randy, can I guess you can see this. Well,
No.
it's hard to see. Now, I'll scan it next time and show it. But anyway, you can pull the results of that road check. And I've had other people from different states saying they couldn't find it in their state. So you may not be able to find it You may or may not be able to find it, but in the state of Texas, you can pull it. And
Forward that to me, Lamar, and I'll put it on Facebook page.
yeah, and I think this one is already on there. I'm not really sure if Robert posted this, but I'll send it to you, Randy, and you can get it on there.
And I'll put the road check on too, guys, as soon as we're through, or what have you.
So this is the results of 2018, and it says it right on there. And you people from Texas, if you can just look down at the bottom, it's got the link at the bottom. And I think all you got to do is change it from 2018 to 2021, and it should pull the same. I think it would probably pull the results of this year. But that is a really powerful. I get more, I don't know, accolades. When I go in there and tell them this is what happened, this is what is going to happen. You know, you could show them this 2021 and say, look, take this document in with you too, and say, look what happened in 2019. Get ready. It's going to happen again this year. And then ask for a referral. You got any friends you think could use this information? Sure do, Mr. Reynolds. And they'll send you to another trucking company. Rob?
Can we answer your question fairly?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good evening. Basically, I'm gonna try to get to the point. Does this company also handle, for instance, border control incidences? Like if you're trying to leave out of New York and go into Canada with edible hazmat materials, like for instance, alcohol or tequila, and you have an irate border control, and you're trying to contact your dispatch, but somehow you're not able to reach your dispatch because he's probably overwhelmed. Was this system provide a type of support to handle irate border controls like an irate officer? I've finished that 2 times.
Lamar?
Well, I'll say this, if he actually writes a citation and it's on the US side, yes, we will cover that. But if it happens into Canada, there's nothing we can do. I mean, if that officer is writing a citation there at the port of entry and it goes into Canada, we do not have the coverage in Canada. So this is the lower 48, and I've had Canadian drivers just driving in the U.S. Buy my program so that they could be covered in the U.S., not in Canada. So, but if you're asking if you had the legal plan and this officer is getting irate at you, I don't know. I mean, you could probably run that past your attorney to see what he says. I mean, you might could get some input, but it's usually you don't have that time to speak to an attorney while these things are happening. They won't allow you on the phone. And, I told you to move the truck. You got to move it over here and you're out of service, whatever it might be. You have to follow the directions of that officer. So usually these things result in a citation. And depending on what was wrote, that's where our program can either adjudicate that or it can't.
Yeah, basically I should have got to the point of mentioning actually 2 incidences, one on the Canadian side, a Windsor exit when you go up 75. There was an incident there. And then the one coming out of Canada when you're coming down through the Buffalo area, Niagara Falls, towards the evening, they can be irate. They can be. And then they can x-ray the whole entire vehicle and take up almost 3 hours of your time. And then basically, jeopardize the load. And sometimes at one time they wanted to even break the seal. They were thinking that I was carrying something in the tank. And I was on the Canadian side. I had to basically be my own attorney kind of deal and get my way out of that. So I had to basically tell them, You crack that seal, you just broke a whole load of tequila rum. And we're back and forth. So the sergeant came out, and this was like one of my first times. So I was thinking, and then my phone, another incident, wasn't working on that side of Canada. I didn't have coverage. So I was thinking about this company. I didn't join at the time. There should be some type of provision, at least just at the border, or someone to pick up on that in case of those incidences when you have irateness going on with the officers. If they don't understand what they're doing and then they feel skeptical, someone should be able to step in if the dispatch can't get there. We call it a border, kind of like where the duty frees are. Maybe someone around that area in the duty free area can pick up the pace to communicate with the other attorneys or risk. So I'm just basically bringing something to the table to consider what might be a good idea for persons like myself or anyone else that went through that. Basically have it can become habitual if this is not seized in the correct manner.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking, what is your input on that? I mean, in case if you're on the Canada side.
I would just say this: when you challenge the authority of an officer, get ready. It's a buzzsaw. It's not a pretty scene. If you think he's bad now, if you try to get him on the phone with your attorney, or my attorney said this, he'll let you know real quick. He is the authority right now, and you have to do as I say. So it's usually after the fact with our attorney in the court of jurisdiction with the judge. That's where we can make some progress there. But what you're talking about, and we have one of these scale houses in Texas. It's a high-tech scale house. They scan your truck when it comes in. It captures the D.O.T. number. It captures that truck number. They can see the violations that's being written on that particular truck. They scan with infrared heat sensors, the brakes. It's high tech. And I mean, and they can scan your load. They see whatever is going on electronically, the weight, everything of that vehicle. And they write a lot of citations. And Randy, this is a new one in the state of Texas in Seguin.
Yeah, I've got the paperwork on it.
Yeah, you got the paperwork. I mean, there's a few of them around the country. And let me tell you, they're writing a lot of tickets on drivers that's not from the state of Texas. I mean, these are all over the country. They happen to be coming down I-10 and they get caught in that. So I hear what you're saying. They're at the border, the port of entry. That is, and some of these officers, I mean, they shouldn't be in the position they're in. I'll say it that way. But they can be really rude. And
Yes, sorry if you don't mind. Yeah, I basically follow protocol of the officer, but for some reason, sometimes they can just have a bad day.
Yep.
And they ask you what it is, and then I'm explaining it to them, and they think I'm being what you call it smart. Or you're being smart and intelligent. I'm like, no, I'm just answering your question, and then it goes on from there. Just that simple, because they don't know you at the border. And I'm noticing if some other drivers, if they just know you by looking at you, they'll let you through. If not, you're a new guy and you're going to different exits, which is required. And even when I was coming out with the tanker empty, I still got the placards on. And once in a while, I might carry 2 tankers out with the placards on. That's called XT endorse. 2 of them coming out, and they still want to ask a bunch of questions. And sometimes I'm answering them, then they get irate. I mean, I know what you're saying. I respect what the law is, but this just get to the point where they can be that way on that side of the border and then kind of like hold you back kind of deal, which I got held in for 2 days, just answering questions. And he felt like I was being smart with him. And then getting to the dispatch, maybe like almost a half a day later when I finally got coverage. So if I can, like I mentioned, if somebody can, with this company, if they can.
Mr. Fairley,
Yes.
we got to close out. We got to
Yeah.
close.
Okay.
Yeah, we well over time, guys. So that's really a conversation you guys got to have offline at this point. And I understand you got an issue going on. You're a driver, so I know for you it's a little bit different because you're actually a driver. but we got to get the call closed out. There's another call that started about 10 minutes ago online that people are trying to get to. So like if Lamar, Randy, or any of you guys, because I can't even answer those questions. That's above my pay grade. But if you guys can help fairly offline on that, then certainly that would be great. I know we got the 20th, the training going on. Sherranda, you mentioned your Thursday night call.
Yeah, I did. Accountability call is still up on the announcements. You can register there. I sent out an email. We look for you to be accountable to show up weekly. But that's where you can sign up to get the email.
Good stuff. Lamar, Randy, anything before we close out?
I'm good.
That's good. All right. Look forward to you guys all. Thank you guys all for being on again. Thank you for your questions. Ask more questions on the Facebook page. We look forward to seeing you guys next week, Monday, same time, same place, so we can continue on, guys. You guys have a fantastic evening and a safe rest of your week.
Thank you.
Good